There are nights when the weight of existence feels unbearable, when silence screams louder than thunder, when every breath feels like a battle. You stare at the ceiling, wondering if this is all there is, a cycle of striving, breaking, and pretending to be whole. But beneath that silence, something stirs, a faint, almost forgotten whisper, the voice of your soul reminding you that this is not the end. This is the beginning of awakening. Pain has a way of disguising itself as punishment, but it is in truth the first language of transformation. It speaks not to destroy, but to reveal. It strips you of illusions, of comfort, of everything that never truly belonged to you. You lose friends. You lose peace. You lose yourself. And in that loss, you begin to see what cannot be taken. Your mind, your will, your inner fortress. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." You repeat those words like a prayer, hoping one day they won't just sound wise. They'll feel true. The world will test you. It will drag you through nights so dark you'll forget what light felt like. It will whisper that you're nothing, that you're broken, that your fight is over. And you might believe it for a while. But deep down, the Stoic within you, the part untouched by fear, untouched by time, knows this darkness is the forge. Every ember of agony is shaping something immortal within you. You start to see pain not as an enemy, but as a sculptor. Every hardship chisels away at what is unnecessary, leaving behind something purer, something eternal, you. Seneca once said, "Fire tests gold, and adversity tests the brave." And you are being tested. You walk through your own ruins, the remnants of who you used to be. The echoes of laughter now gone, the fragments of dreams you once held like treasures. It hurts to look. It hurts to remember, but you do not turn away. You stand there among the wreckage and breathe, because somewhere inside a realization begins to form. Perhaps what broke you was never meant to destroy you. Perhaps it came to wake you. Every tear becomes a teacher. Every loss becomes a lesson. You start to see that life isn't happening to you. It's happening for you. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" And that question changes everything, because the moment you stop resisting pain, it starts to reveal its purpose. You sit in your loneliness, and instead of running, you listen. The silence becomes sacred. The emptiness becomes a mirror. You begin to see your reflection, not as a victim, but as the author of your own becoming. The mind that once cursed the storm now begins to find meaning in its thunder. You realize that the Stoics were right. Control is an illusion except for one thing, yourself. Epictetus said, "We suffer not from the things themselves, but from our opinions about them." So you begin the work, the quiet, patient work of changing perception. You wake up even when your body begs for more sleep. You breathe even when it hurts to exist. You keep moving even when the road ahead is invisible, because something deep within you has decided. This is not how your story ends. You learn to sit with pain, to observe it without judgment. You realize emotions are like waves. They rise, they crash, they fade, and beneath them the ocean remains calm. You are that ocean. You begin to detach from the noise, the opinions, the comparisons, the chaos of others. You realize how much of your suffering came not from life, but from the way you wished life would be. Expectation was your chain, acceptance your key. You start letting go, slowly, painfully, beautifully, of people who no longer walk with you, of memories that keep you anchored in the past, of desires that drain your peace. And in that letting go, you begin to feel light. The emptiness that once felt like loss now feels like space. Space to rebuild, to breathe, to be. You understand that solitude isn't punishment. It's preparation. You are not isolated. You are incubating strength. Marcus Aurelius said, "Look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look." So you look deep within, and you find it, that faint, unbreakable flame. You've been searching for peace in others, but it was within you all along, quiet, patient, waiting to be remembered. You realize your suffering was not meaningless. It was the soil in which wisdom was growing. The pain was never punishment. It was initiation. And now, when you walk through the same storms that once broke you, you walk differently, not with fear, but with understanding. You've learned that storms pass, but the sky remains. You no longer pray for an easier life. You pray for a stronger mind. You no longer wish for comfort. You wish for clarity. You realize the Stoic path isn't about feeling nothing. It's about mastering what you feel. It's about holding chaos in one hand and calm in the other, and walking forward, steady, unshaken. You begin to see that life doesn't need to be perfect to be beautiful. You start to thank your scars, because each one reminds you, you survived, you endured, and you grew. The world that once felt hostile now feels like a teacher. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to rise. Every fall, a rehearsal for flight. You remember Seneca's words, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." And you smile, because you finally understand. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not lost. You are being refined. You realize that the Stoics weren't preaching cold detachment. They were teaching freedom. Freedom from the chaos of reaction. Freedom from the tyranny of desire. Freedom from everything that does not depend on you. You breathe deeper now. You speak less. You listen more. You observe life like a silent monk, aware of its storms, unmoved by its noise. The more you understand impermanence, the less you cling. The less you cling, the more peace you find. And somewhere between pain and acceptance, you find yourself again, stronger, calmer, truer. Not the person you were, but the person you were meant to become. You are no longer defined by what hurt you. You are defined by how you healed. The world around you hasn't changed, but you have, and that changes everything. You wake to the same world, yet it feels different. The air carries the same weight, but something in you is lighter. You move through your morning with quiet intent, as if each breath carries purpose. The chaos outside remains unchanged, but your inner stillness has grown roots. You begin to see how much power lies in awareness. Not control, not possession. Awareness. Because when you are aware, you are free. Free from the pull of anger, from the fog of fear, from the trap of your own expectations. You begin to see thoughts for what they are. Passing clouds, not the sky itself. You used to drown in them. Now you let them drift. You used to chase validation. Now you realize that peace was never out there. It was within, waiting for you to stop running. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Those words echo in your chest. You repeat them until they stop being words and become a way of being. You start noticing your impulses, the urge to react, to defend, to prove. And in the space between impulse and action, you find your power. That pause, that single breath, is the birth of mastery. You used to think strength meant dominance. Now you see it means discipline, the quiet kind, the kind that resists the need to speak when silence is wiser, the kind that stays calm when provoked, that chooses dignity over rage. You start to understand what Marcus Aurelius meant when he said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." You stop trying to rearrange the world and start shaping your response to it, and the world begins to lose its power over you. The same insults that once pierced your heart now dissolve into nothing. The same failures that used to break you now teach you. You no longer flinch at discomfort. You invite it, because discomfort is the gym of the soul. Every struggle is a rep. Every moment of restraint, a weight lifted. You become deliberate. Every word you speak is measured. Every decision flows from clarity, not emotion. And yet you are not cold. You are alive, fiercely alive, because your emotions no longer rule you. They serve you. There's a difference between suppression and mastery. Suppression is fear of feeling. Mastery is freedom within feeling. You allow sadness to pass through you, but it no longer defines you. You allow anger to rise, but it no longer blinds you. You experience everything and are enslaved by nothing. The mind that once scattered itself in 1,000 directions now moves with intention. Each thought aligns with your purpose. Each step a statement. I am here. I am calm. I am in command of myself. You look back on your past self, the one who was lost, desperate, hungry for approval, and you feel compassion, not shame. That person suffered so you could awaken. That pain was the tuition for wisdom. Seneca said, "No man was ever wise by chance." Wisdom costs everything that is not real, and you've paid. You've given up illusions, comfort, ego, and in return, you've gained something unshakable. You begin to see beauty in simplicity, the morning sun, the sound of rain, a moment of silence before the world wakes. You no longer crave more, you crave meaning. And meaning comes not from having, but from being. You find yourself practicing gratitude, not as a performance, but as a truth. You are grateful for the pain, for it showed you your strength. Grateful for the loss, for it revealed what truly matters. Grateful even for the moments you thought you'd never survive, Because now you see they were steps on your path to peace. You start living like a warrior monk, disciplined, peaceful, alert. You move with purpose, but without hurry. You realize that patience is not waiting. It's trusting the process. The Stoics called it amor fati, the love of fate, to not just accept what happens, but to embrace it, to say yes to life exactly as it is. You practice this daily. You stop fighting the river. You learn to flow. There's a deep silence that comes with self-understanding. It's not emptiness, it's fullness, a quiet that hums with presence. You used to fear being alone, but now solitude feels like home. You begin to see how little you need to live well. Food, shelter, a clear conscience, a disciplined mind. And suddenly the world's noise loses its grip. You no longer chase what they call success. You chase stillness, because stillness is where truth lives. You realize your worth was never in your possessions, your achievements, your titles. Your worth was in your character, how you carry yourself when everything falls apart, how you remain kind in a cruel world, how you stay calm in chaos. That is wealth no one can steal. And you understand something profound. No one is your enemy, not even those who hurt you, because they too are slaves to ignorance, to emotion, to fear. You see their anger as their suffering. You forgive, not for them, but for your own liberation. You stop seeking revenge. You seek understanding. You stop wanting to win. You want to grow. And in that shift, your soul expands. You start noticing synchronicities, moments that feel guided, as if the universe is responding to your inner order. When the mind is still, life aligns. When the heart is pure, the path clears. You understand now what Marcus Aurelius meant. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. So you guard your thoughts like sacred fire. You feed them truth, discipline, and serenity. You let no poison enter, no gossip, no resentment, no envy. You cultivate inner nobility, and slowly, reality begins to mirror your mind. What once felt chaotic becomes harmonious. What once felt unfair becomes purposeful. What once felt like suffering becomes sacred. You are learning the art of acceptance, not passive surrender, but active peace. A choice to meet life as it comes, with eyes open and heart steady. You see how everything you once resisted was the very thing you needed to grow. The betrayal taught you boundaries. The failure taught you patience. The pain taught you empathy. The loneliness taught you self-love. Nothing was wasted. Every wound was a doorway. Every loss a guide. Every ending a beginning. You begin to walk differently now. Slower, calmer. Each step an act of grace. You are no longer chasing. You are allowing. You find strength in restraint. You find joy in simplicity. You find divinity in discipline. You understand that to master the world, you must first master yourself. And you finally understand the true meaning of freedom. Not doing what you want, but wanting what is right. Your reflection in the mirror no longer looks like a stranger. You see calmness in your own eyes. The kind of calm that can't be faked, can't be bought, can't be taught, only earned through suffering endured with grace. You whisper to yourself, I am here, I am whole, I am becoming. And for the first time, you believe it. There comes a morning when you no longer wake to survive. You wake to live, not in resistance, but in rhythm with life itself. The light entering your window feels softer now. The air carries a certain stillness, the kind that follows storms that have done their work. You rise without hurry. You breathe without fear. There is no rush, no chase, no noise inside, just presence. You've stopped searching for meaning outside yourself. You've realized that meaning is not found. It is made in the way you choose to meet each moment, made in the grace with which you handle the uncontrollable, made in the quiet strength of your decisions. You no longer ask life to be gentle. You ask yourself to be resilient, and you are. What once felt like punishment now feels like privilege. The privilege of having endured, of having seen the worst within and still standing tall. You have looked into the abyss and returned with light in your eyes. Seneca wrote, "He who has learned how to die has unlearned how to be a slave." And you understand now. To die before you die. To let go of all that was false, all that was fragile. To bury the old self without mourning. That is freedom. You no longer cling to what leaves. You no longer fear what comes. You move with time, not against it. You have learned the sacred art of surrender, and in surrender you found peace, the kind that doesn't depend on circumstances, the kind that sits quietly in your chest, unmoved by storms, untouched by noise. You've learned that true peace isn't the absence of struggle. It's the presence of inner order, the discipline of thought, the clarity of purpose, the harmony between mind and action. You used to ask, when will I be happy? Now you ask, how can I live with virtue today? Because happiness was never the goal. Excellence was. Integrity was. Peace was. Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. So you live the philosophy. You embody it in silence. You let your calmness speak louder than words. Your kindness no longer seeks applause. Your patience no longer hides resentment. Your strength no longer needs display. You've become dangerous in the most beautiful way. Calm under pressure, steady in chaos, soft in power. Your composure unnerves the world, because it cannot control what it cannot disturb. And yet, you are not detached from life. You are more alive than ever. You feel deeply, but wisely. You love fully, but freely. You act boldly, but with reason. You've discovered the middle path, where peace and passion coexist. You see now that every human carries storms inside them, but few learn how to sail through. You've become a sailor of the soul. You read the winds of emotion. You navigate the tides of circumstance, and when the waves rise, you do not curse them. You adjust your sails. Epictetus whispered through time, when something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude toward it. And that attitude has become your compass. It points always toward equanimity. You live lighter now. Your possessions no longer possess you. Your thoughts no longer haunt you. You are not addicted to approval, for you've tasted self-respect. You walk through crowds but remain centered. You speak little, but each word carries weight. You listen more, not to reply, but to understand. You see in others the same struggles you once carried, and instead of judgment, you offer compassion. You've realized that mastery is not separation from humanity. It's deeper connection with it. To feel the pain of others without drowning in it. To love the world without being enslaved by it. To participate fully, yet remain inwardly free. There is an elegance to simplicity now. Your life is no longer cluttered by excess, by drama, by distraction. Each day has become deliberate. Each act, a meditation. Each moment sacred. You find beauty in the ordinary. A cup of tea, a sunrise, the rhythm of your own breath. You have discovered that eternity lives in simplicity. And when life strikes, as it still does, you meet it like a warrior. Not with rage, but with readiness. Not with complaint, but with composure. Because the storm that once terrified you has become your training ground. You no longer ask, why me? You say, try me. Not in defiance, but in faith. Because you know the universe does not conspire to break you, but to build you. You've made peace with uncertainty. You no longer need to know what's next. You trust yourself to meet it when it comes. That trust, that quiet confidence, is worth more than any fortune. The voice in your head that once doubted, now guides. It speaks not with fear, but with wisdom. You no longer seek external validation. You seek internal alignment. And when people ask what changed, you don't explain, you smile. Because transformation is not a story. It is an energy. And those who are ready will feel it. You have become your own teacher, your own companion, your own peace. You have realized what the Stoics meant all along, that the greatest victory is victory over oneself. You no longer envy the powerful. You pity the undisciplined, because true strength is invisible. It's the ability to remain gentle in a cruel world, to stay humble in triumph, to stay grateful in loss. Your mind is now a temple. No anger enters without purpose. No desire lingers without scrutiny. No thought stays that does not serve peace. You carry yourself differently now. Your silence is louder than noise. Your calmness is contagious. People feel it before you speak. Because peace, when earned, radiates. The same life that once broke you now bows before your composure. The same pain that once consumed you now fuels your wisdom. You have transcended, not into someone else, but into your truest self. Unmoved, unbroken, unafraid. You understand that death will come. And that is not tragedy, but truth. Because to remember death is to live deeply. To remember impermanence is to love fiercely. To remember time is short is to waste none of it on trivial things. You live each day as a Stoic would, with clarity of purpose, with gratitude for the present, and with serenity in the face of fate. When anger knocks, you greet it with patience. When fear whispers, you answer with courage. When sorrow visits, you make it tea. Every emotion becomes a guest. None becomes a master. You've learned to bow to what you cannot control and command what you can, yourself. And in mastering yourself, you've mastered life. There is no longer a war within, only a steady flame, bright enough to see, calm enough to warm, strong enough to endure. This is what you were searching for all along. Not happiness, not perfection, but peace. Peace born from discipline. Peace born from acceptance. Peace born from truth. And as you walk into the horizon of your life, you understand that the journey never ends. It only deepens. Because peace is not a destination. It's a way of traveling. So you keep walking, light, steady, serene, not above the world, but within it, fully human, fully awake. And somewhere, Marcus, Seneca, and Epictetus would nod. Not because you memorized their words, but because you live them. You smile, breathe, and whisper to the wind, I am the calm within the storm. I am the strength within the silence. I am free. There comes a time when words fall away, and silence becomes the highest wisdom. You've reached that place, the space between thought and being. The world still moves, loud, restless, demanding, but you no longer dance to its tune. You walk to the rhythm of eternity. You've learned that most of life's noise is nothing more than the echo of untrained minds. People chase shadows, argue over illusions, fight battles that never mattered. But you've learned to see through it, to see that peace was never found in the crowd, but in the clarity of solitude. You sit now in that sacred stillness, where nothing needs to happen for life to feel complete. The sun on your skin, the sound of your own breath. These are enough. You've stopped needing more, because you've realized that more is a thief of joy. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." You remember this every day. You do not waste. You do not postpone peace for some distant tomorrow. You live it, here now, because the Stoic understands. Tomorrow is not promised, but virtue is always within reach. You no longer see time as an enemy. You see it as a teacher. Every sunrise reminds you that beginnings never end. Every sunset reminds you that endings are beginnings in disguise. You greet both with gratitude. You have learned the hardest lesson, that control was never the goal. Wisdom was, peace was, and they come only when control is released. The moment you stop demanding life to bend to your will, it started flowing through you like a gentle river. You remember the person you were, afraid, reactive, uncertain, and you smile, not with pride, but with understanding. That version of you was necessary. That pain was the fire that purified you. Without it, you would still be asleep. You've come to see that suffering itself was sacred, the greatest sculptor of the human soul, because through pain, you discovered purpose. Through loss, you found presence. Through endings, you learned eternity. You no longer chase happiness. You cultivate harmony. Happiness depends on fortune. Harmony depends on wisdom. And wisdom is something no one can take from you. You understand that virtue is not an idea. It is a daily practice. To act justly, to speak honestly, to endure calmly, to love without possession, to live without fear. You have nothing left to prove, because your very existence is proof. Proof that the human spirit cannot be defeated. Proof that peace is possible, even here, even now, even amidst chaos. You walk among others, not as someone above them, but as someone among them, humble in strength, gentle in truth. Your presence calms, your silence teaches, your steadiness inspires. Marcus Aurelius said, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." You live by that. Every morning, gratitude. Every night, reflection. And in between, a life lived fully, deliberately, peacefully. You no longer ask life to be easy. You ask yourself to be prepared. You no longer curse what you cannot control. You master what you can. Your choices, your perspective, your heart. You see now that the mind is a garden. You tend it daily. You pull out weeds of resentment. You plant seeds of virtue. You water it with gratitude. And when storms come, you let them, because you know they make the soil rich. There is a clarity in your eyes now, a kind of unshakable knowing. You no longer hope to avoid pain. You hope to face it with grace. You no longer run from fear. You walk with it, hand in hand, until it fades into courage. You understand that life is not measured by years, but by moments of awareness. And so you live each one as if it were eternity, because in truth, it is. When people ask what guides you, you tell them it's not faith, not fate, but reason and virtue in harmony. The Stoic Trinity, to think clearly, to act justly, to love calmly. That is your creed. And when death finally comes, as it must, you will not tremble. You will greet it like an old friend, because you have lived in alignment with nature, and what is natural cannot be feared. You will close your eyes, not as someone escaping, but as someone returning. Returning to the same stillness that once healed you, to the same silence that once held you, but that moment is far away. For now you remain here, a living example of what a human can become when they master themselves. You've walked through pain and turned it into wisdom. You've faced chaos and turned it into calm. You've embraced mortality and turned it into meaning. And now you move through life, like a flame in the dark, not burning, but illuminating. You understand that the truest power is not in changing the world, but in changing yourself. Because when one soul finds peace, the world grows quieter. So you keep walking, step by step, breath by breath, guided by reason, grounded in virtue, guarded by peace. No crown, no applause, just a quiet dignity, the kind that only truth can give. And as the sun sets on another day, you whisper the words that carried you through it all. What stands in the way becomes the way, and the way is within.